guys, we are just moments away from tuning in to the press conference here where we'll hear from the Bagley family as they address the public for the first time in regards to the release of that body camera video. Looks like they're making the podium right now. Let's take a listen.
Okay, I didn't want to leave anybody out.
Front and center is the family attorney, Ron Haley, and behind him is the family of Alonzo Bagley.
Today, Officer Alexander Tyler was arrested for the homicide of Alonzo Bagley that took place February 3rd, 2023. 66 seconds. 66 seconds. 66 different opportunities to do something different. This was a non-violent encounter. Mr. Bagley was unarmed. It was unnecessary for Officer Tyler to arm himself with a firearm. We can talk about training, and training is an issue here. But we also have to talk about the bias against black and brown men around this country. Because training does not take away the fear of black and brown men. And that's what we had here. Mr. Bagley was not a threat. He was not a threat to anyone. If anyone, he was a threat to himself. But no one. Again, unarmed. Even when he listens to 911 call. Nothing is addressed about him doing physical harm to anyone or him having a firearm. When officers entered into the room with the body cam footage that everyone has seen, he has a bottle of liquor in his hand. Calmly walks away to his room to check on his dog. A short flight takes place, but flight is not a death sentence. Flight does not mean shoot to kill. Flight does not mean judge, jury, and executioner. And that's what happened here. That is what happened in this case of Mr. Bagley. And it's an incident that we see far too often in this state. It's an incident that we see far too often throughout this country. This was only 2 weeks removed from the country's conscience being shocked at the release of the video of Tyrese Nichols. And yet, although the conscience of the nation was shocked, it has not shocked the conscience of law enforcement and our leaders enough to make changes within law enforcement so that the policies that allow for bad policing and these bad policing policies lead to bad police officers doing bad things and ultimately ends in death, and it ended in another death of another unarmed black man. I commend the job that the state police did in this investigation. I have been at media press conference criticizing the Louisiana State Police, in particular in the fallout of the Ronald Green and Aaron Bowman cases and how long it took, the lack of transparency. Colonel Davis said that, listen, things will be different under his watch. I have to call a spade. This is a 180 difference than what we had to deal with the Green and Bowman cases and other cases under the LSP's watch prior to the leadership of Colonel Davis. Again, within less than 2 weeks, we not only have seen the body cam footage, but we've also had an arrest. And this is an important distinction. This is one of the first times in the history of the state of Louisiana where the Louisiana State Police has made an arrest of a white officer killing a black or brown person. And I want to clarify this. Most of the time when these cases happen, they go to the grand jury, and the grand jury make the determination of whether or not someone is to be arrested or not. But Officer Tyler's actions were so egregious that they did not have to go to the grand jury, that after reviewing the body cam footage and doing an initial investigation, there was probable cause enough to arrest him for the death of Alonzo Bagley. But that doesn't happen without not only leadership at the top, but folks on the ground pushing for change. Folks like Brika Peoples, folks like Eugene Collins, and other civil rights attorneys throughout the state. Denicia Miles Banks comes to mind. That these are issues of transparency and accountability that we've been pushing for years. And the result of this is what we have here, that when a police officer makes a mistake or a police officer makes a crime, that police officer, or does a crime, that police officer is held accountable. Now, there's still questions to be answered. We need to know what this officer's disciplinary history actually is. We understand that he was on the force for a mere year and a half. But sources have told us that within that year and a half that this officer has had disciplinary problems. I'm asking that that the Shreveport City and the Shreveport City Police Department come forth with that information. Come forth with that information now, because the community needs to know that they are being served by competent police officers doing competent work. In the next couple of days, we hope to learn additional information. At this time, I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Brika Peoples, and then the family of Alonzo Bagley wishes to speak, and I'll open the floor for questions.
Good evening. When my child wakes up in Shreveport, Louisiana, she wouldn't be full of questions, as she is every morning as we start our day. With all the parents' answers or the desire to give our child peace and comfort, as we start our day this morning, I realized that to ensure her peace of mind, I could not be honest with her. I could not tell her that her surroundings will always be safe. Shreveport is a city full of bloodshed. I commend the men and women who are willing to serve as law enforcement officers in the city of Shreveport. I respect their willingness to take risks in order to protect those that they do not know personally. I also respect those officers who conduct themselves in a safe and compassionate manner. The Shreveport Police Department is like every other department in the country. Their level of professionalism begins with their leadership of the department. When the leadership doesn't perfect a professional image, the officers that follows those leaders will not serve our city at the level we deserve. Shreveport Police Officer Tyler should not have shot Alonzo Bagley. The wrongful death of another citizen reflects on the lack of professionalism of the Shreveport Police Department. We protest the lack of justice from within our own department. Alonzo would have not died if Deputy Antoine White and Chief Wayne Smith would have fired the officer. So many incidents have occurred with this officer in question in the past year that brings discredit to the deputy chief and the chief of police. Had they maintained a professional standard within the rank and file, he would not have remained on the police force, and this tragedy wouldn't happen. We are striving for a peaceful protest, but we demand change. We are calling on Mayor Tom Arsenault to change the leadership of Shreveport Police Department administration immediately. The lack of professionalism cost Alonzo Bagley his life. We ask for charges to file and prosecution to be conducted under the laws of the state of Louisiana. We feel that justice will be served, and we feel like a civil case will be successful. But none of that would atone the reality and a needless killing happened. My mom served this city for 23 years. I watched my mom patrol without any infractions. So it disturbs me to know that this could happen in my city, in the same neighborhood my mom patrolled in. We address the mayor of Shreveport with the expectation that he will effect positive change. I would also like to thank the state police because they did do their good job and they did it well.
Everything that has happened today with the footage and everything, It's still processing. It's still processing. We are proud of, the state troopers for what they did and everything, and, that's great. But we still not satisfied. We still not satisfied. Like Ron said, we have questions that needs answered. It was no need for my brother to lose his life over a phone call, over a 911 call there's no threat there. It was no threat there. Like I said again, I'm gonna keep saying it. It's painful. I'm hurting. My family is hurting. We hurting as a people, and a call to justice is what's needed now, not later. It's needed now. And like Ms. People said, as the officers, they follow the leader. You look at the leader, who leads them. So to promote change and for that to happen, we have to get out there and stand behind social activists, people that are in Shreveport. Stand behind the people like Breeka Peoples and, support the calling that she have. And we make sure that we stand behind it and be more than just a post and more than just words. Because if you don't have actions behind it, it's just falling on deaf ears. And that's not what we're here for. That's not what I stand for. And I want Alonzo death to mean something at the end of the day. And I know that it will happen, and I appreciate everybody condolences and prayers, but none of that compares to the pain that I'm feeling, the pain that my mom is feeling, the pain that our brother is feeling. That's going to linger for a while, for a long time, and it's still change that needs to be happening. And I'm proud to stand and be with Ron Haley and Associates and Breeka People to help start that change, and I'm going to continue to stand behind them.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions.
How do you feel about the negligent homicide, knowing that charge only carries up to 5 years with no minimum and with or without heart failure?
I'll say this, in just my view of the body cam footage, I believe that's the appropriate charge as of now. We don't have context as to how the officer approached the scene. And I'll give you an example. I go back to Alton Sterling in 2016. Body cam footage did not come right away, but once the body and dash cam did come out, you saw Officer Blaine Salamone basically have it on his mind to do harm to Alton Sterling prior to encountering him. We do not know if we had that information on Officer Tyler. What I saw from Officer Tyler, honestly, was extreme regret and remorse for the mistake that he made. Now, if there's other things that we learned in his personnel file and what he was doing leading up to that incident, I reserve right to change my mind and judgment on whether or not it's an appropriate charge. As it pertains to what these charges carry, I think that's up to our legislature. Our legislature has demonstrated that negligent homicide is a 0 to 5 crime, and that's what we have to work with. But I do not think the charges were inappropriate from what we know at this time.
Were you surprised that a bond hearing was held so quickly and that bond was only set at $25,000?
I think that's up to the district attorney's office, his defense lawyer, and the judge. Without being at the bond hearing, not knowing what was presented at the bond hearing, I don't want to comment on that. If I was there and participating, I would have more to say. I do understand your point.
What actions do you want to see the police chief take that this video is out, this investigation is done? Obviously, they're looking at this department. What do you want to see happen now?
Well, first thing I want is an apology to the family. That's the first thing. A heartfelt apology for their government taking their loved one's life. The second thing I want to know what immediate policy changes are going to take place so that there is not another Alonzo Bagley in the city of Shreveport. This is not easy to do. It never is. To stand with the family that has lost a loved one at the hands of the police. But I've done this too many times. There has to be a time for the last time. And at least for the city of Shreveport, I hope this is the last time. Additionally, listen, now that he has been arrested, we want the immediate termination of Officer Alexander Tyler. We think such action should have taken place before, based on what we learned in this personnel file. But if this does not move the needle to do that immediately, I don't know what will.
So you spoke about the instilling of some immediate policy changes. I mean, do you have some sort of idea of what kind of policies you would like to see police officers operate on?
Absolutely. Look, first of all, on a nationwide standpoint, we need to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act for the absolute reason being that we need a uniform use of force policy throughout this entire country. I understand that there are nuances in each individual city, town, county, we in Louisiana parish, right? But what is use of force in Shreveport should be use of force in New York. What's use of force in New York should be use of force in Florida, should be use of force in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, that we should not have 18,000 different use of force policies. We should at least have one use of force policy and national standard that all law enforcement agencies go by. That's a starting point. There.
I know when we last talked, I hadn't had a chance to see the video just yet. I've watched the video.
Mm-hmm.
So now I understand where you were coming from. Those last few seconds were very difficult to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've seen it, the fact that he even seemed shocked at how he was handled, how does that sit with you? How does that feel being under the rug?
Again, it's painful. It's hurtful. Knowing that his last words was, oh God, he shot me. And like I said, that got me. It honestly got me. Seeing him take his last breath, that really broke my heart. Heart still broken. And there's no words that I can try to, gather in my head of how I felt when I seen it. And it still just, I don't understand the purpose of him having his gun out. And I'm a very understanding man, but that right there is not, I can't wrap my head around that. And it's almost like I want to ask him why, but I don't, you know what I mean? Cause it's, again, trying to be forgiving, trying to be understanding is what is the struggle that I'm having right now. Because as a police officer, you have a calling to protect and serve. I don't feel like Shreveport police protected or served Alonzo Bagley, my brother, a son, a husband. They failed miserably.
My last question is, obviously the mayor has called the news conference as well.
Repeat that?
The mayor has called the news conference, and this is for anyone up there.
Okay.
Has anyone from the mayor's office called you guys yet? Has anyone contacted the mayor? Has anyone reached out?
From my understanding, he did contact. He did. But as far as with my mom to bring some kind of peace to her, or to me, we hadn't heard anything. And at this point, I'm kind of just they can keep it. It's the prayers and condolences I'm receiving from everybody else, my family and those that know me, and with Ron and Brika having our back and being there for us, it's enough, because it should have been done in the beginning. It should have been that should have been said. Him reaching out should have been done that night, for us to feel just a little bit of okay about the situation. But it's been weeks. That's not okay. And I'm not going to sit here and act like it is. That's not okay. No problem.
Just a moment ago, you said you felt that the negligent homicide charge was a suitable charge with evidence being presented. And one piece of evidence in particular you mentioned that you don't have is evidence for the intent to cause harm. In his arrest warrant, it states that seen Bagley with his hands hidden and he coming towards him as if he had a weapon. And there are no weapons around or on Bagley. You know, I know that's not necessarily evidence, but how does that make you feel?
That's the playbook. If there's one uniform policy that is the playbook as it pertains to these use of force cases, it is to blame the victim. I didn't see his hands. He was texting. He was reaching. He was resisting. Listen, we saw most recently, I'm just going to bring it up because it's the most recent one that made the national news, Tyree Nichols. You know, quit resisting, quit resisting, quit resisting. I didn't see any resisting from Brother Nichols. I didn't see anything at all. And then them being caught on body cam, basically coming up with their stories. You could look at the Ronald Green footage. You could look at basically any well, it shouldn't matter, national case, because we need to not elevate one death over another. No death should happen. But anything that has reached the national conscience, right, and videos that have been shown, as it pertains, what is the immediate reaction to that by the offending officer? It is to blame the victim. It is to figure out some way to justify using the force that was used. Now, I saw this video like the rest of the country has at this point. And for me, it didn't even look like Officer Tyler knew that it was Alonzo Bagley in that hallway. That it could have been you, anyone else with the camera or microphone, any one of us behind here, that it happened so quick that it could have been anyone there. But the fact that he walked out that house and ran in a non-violent chase with not a taser in his hand. Listen, there's a use of force continuum for a reason. You don't get to choose to go from 0 to 100. There are policies that are put in place as to when you use deadly force and when you're not to use deadly force. And this is not a situation where deadly force should have been used, hence the charges that are against him. But my God, this thing happened so fast, such a split of a second that it could have been anyone in that hallway. It was shoot first, not look, not listen, not do anything else. It was the first thing that he saw, he decided to pull the trigger. And unfortunately, what he saw was Alonzo Bagley. But I'm here to tell you that based on what I saw in that video, it could have been any one of us standing in that breezeway.
When you say that things have been better compared to other cases as far as transparency, what exactly do you mean?
So let's look at the two cases that have really brought the light on LSP. The Ronald Green case, it took over a year and a half for us to see the body cam footage. And it took almost 2 years before the public was able to see the body cam footage. Aaron Bowman, it was over 18 months before we were able to see the body cam footage. And it took almost as long for there to be an arrest in that case. And then we know recently with the grand jury indictments on Ronald Green that happened in December of last year, that's almost 3.5 years from that. And so when you just look at it from a time standpoint, from just the transparency part, like let's not even get into the accountability, just from the transparency part, the fact that this family was able to view these videos, the public was able to view these videos in less than 2 weeks, comparison to years in other cases, that's what I mean, that there's been definitely a 180 in how at least the transparency part. And again, today I believe that they got the accountability part right. All right, before we close out, if there's no other questions, I'm going to pass it to this powerful brother here to close us out with some words, and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much.
I want to say that today the city of Shreveport showed what side it stands on. That side is former police officer Alexander Tyler. A $25,000 bond on a black life loss isn't right. Any common person go to jail on attempted murder starts off at $100,000. My cousin was just arrested for a theft. He had a $25,000 bond. So the city of Shreveport is making it clear what side it stands on. In law, there's a term called deliberate indifference. If y'all don't understand what words means, y'all know when you deliberately be indifferent to a situation, in law that's wrong. They can find you guilty for that. Civil law, criminal law. Our government, our mayor, has truly been deliberately indifferent toward this family. You asked the question, has the mayor rest out? The mayor rest out yesterday on the authority of black people telling him, you got to do something. You haven't done anything toward this family. That's fair leadership. So our leader, new in office, he's failing us already. So those that didn't vote, this is what we didn't vote to get. This is honestly poor leadership. You call a news conference 2 weeks after a man has been dead. You didn't much have the decency to call the news conference before your city council. They're stepping outside of the realms of procedures. In any government, the mayor calls the press conference first, not after the city council. And then you get on the TV and say 10 words about it. You hide behind what the LSP saying. I don't feel like that's good. This grieving wife doesn't feel like that's good. This family doesn't feel like that's good. That's why the brother was saying it's too late for all that. You wait 2 weeks after the man dead, he should be buried right now. And then you finally say you want to say something, then you're not saying it to the family, speaking to the media. What about that family? What about that 15-year-old girl that just saw her daddy die? Ain't nobody even checked on her yet. It's like business as usual. But the city of Shreveport is making a big statement. Negligent homicide? No, this shouldn't be a negligent homicide. Because when you look at what a second-degree murder is in law, a second-degree murder is the specific intent to kill or cause great bodily harm. Officer Tyler never did anything but intended to kill this man. That's why that one gunshot wound hit that man in the chest. A person that can't shoot, I can shoot 2 or 3 times. That's why most of us get semi-automatic weapons in the community, because we don't go to rifle ranges. So we'll shoot 100 times just to hit you 1 time. And then we go to court when somebody died, they say second-degree murder, specific intent. If you tell me looking at that video footage today, there was no specific intent, something is wrong with us, with our viewership of things. Because a negligent homicide is the accidental killing of someone. Alexandria did not accidentally kill Alonzo. He intended to kill Alonzo. That's why he stood where he stood as that man was running, and he fired that deadly shot, and he killed him. So we got the wrong charges already in place. It's going to be another slap on the wrist. Negligent homicide carried 5 years. Black people in the community that's killing one another, they're getting life sentences for the same thing that he's going to walk away scot-free from. So we're going to continue to grieve, because ain't nothing been done. Our lives doesn't matter. The system is showing us that today. Black people, y'all don't matter. $25,000 bond, that man right back out of jail.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you guys so much for your patience, and we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, you guys were able to hear from the family right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we'll start with Ron Haley, Ronhaley.
That is them just wrapping up that press conference right there.
Ryanbeaullieu. I'm attorney for the family as well.
Rika Peoples,
So each one of them right there, they were just giving their names to the press right there. Thanks for sticking with us through that. A lot of tough stuff, a lot of emotions. Hearing from the family, since they've all had a chance to watch that body cam video that you see right here. And this is a shortened version of that video. The full video is on our website on ktalnews.com, where you can see that there. You know, each one of them spoke and had different things to say. We're going to work our way through just a little brief recap. You know, family attorney Ron Haley, he starts off by just saying that there was 66 seconds to start off, that he believes Officer Tyler could have done things differently, made a different choice. He believes that things could have ended differently. In regards to what you see in that video and the leading to the death of Alonzo Bagley. Officer Tyler was arrested today. Shreveport officer Alexander Tyler was charged with negligent homicide. And you even heard from that last speaker right there. Unfortunately, I missed the chance to get his name at the end there. But as he was speaking, I think he is a family member of the Bagley family. But when he spoke, you can clearly tell he was very emotional, speaking, and said that he did not believe that Officer Tyler killed Alonzo by accident. He believes that the charge of negligent homicide is when someone accidentally kills, but he believes that Officer Tyler intended to kill. And so he believes that the charge should be different. Brecca Peoples also spoke, and she spoke in regards to, continuing to see justice. They hope to see civil action moving forward. But they also, with Brecca Peoples and family attorney Haley, they both commended and thanked the job well done by LSP, as they have really turned things around from previous cases that they have seen handled. They referenced to the Ronald Green case, which attorney Haley mentions that took about maybe like a year and a half for that body cam video to come out, where here in this case you see it released. This is about 2 weeks later. That body cam video released and a charge put down. And then also with that charge, a bond was set for $25,000 for Officer Tyler. And so he says that, this is a night and day difference with how LSP is handling this case and situation. And he definitely commended them for that. And they both commended him. Job well done, they said. But, again, Xavier, Alonzo's brother, did speak again, as we mentioned here in the beginning. He still says that the family is processing this video now at this point, and they're continuing to process the loss of their family member as they move forward. They are still hurting with this loss and still in pain in regards to, everything that has come out now from this situation. As he moves forward, he says he appreciates having Brecca Peoples and attorney Haley behind him and standing behind them as they move forward. But along with him and the last speaker that we heard from as well, they say that the City of Shreveport did not do enough, in their opinion. The City of Shreveport has not reached out to the family, they say, and at this point they believe that they don't need it. That with those who have stood behind them thus far, they are good to move forward. That they definitely are criticizing the response that the City of Shreveport has had to the family in regards to the situation and how the details have played out. So that is their thoughts. Xavier, Alonzo's brother, says that, and he also questions just why did Tyler have his gun out in that moment. So Xavier definitely questions that, and as we move forward, we are set to hear from Mayor Arsenault later today around 4 p.m. So stay tuned for that. You guys can stay up to date with us right here on KTALnews.com, as well as downloading the KTAL News Now app. That we are going to wrap things up here. Again, they're looking to move forward. They're going to continue processing the family. They will continue to seek civil action. The family attorney, Ron Haley, they have also filed a lawsuit as well, a federal lawsuit. So they will continue to seek action as well. But we want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching this emotional press conference, as that body cam video has been released. For the full video, you can see that all on KTALnews.com. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you have a safe and rest of your day.